It's season 2, bitches!
What's up? We out here. It's your boy, Raptor.
It's your boy, Slapshot.
Are you actually doing that as the intro?
Sure,
Yeah, what is... Who are you?
I'm Crossfire.
And it is...
And currently, Blackbeard is MIA.
We don't know where he went. We're a little concerned.
He's on a secret Spec Ops mission.
Yeah, he's on paid leave, though, so he'll be back
You
next
guys are
week.
getting paid.
Oh. Crossfire didn't cut you your check yet?
I guess not.
It's in the mail.
Oh. we'll get you yours. All right. Welcome to the send-off for season 2, and we're glad to have y'all around. So,
It's a new year.
yeah, it is a new year. You're right.
You knew me?
New year, new me. Do you guys have any New Year's resolutions?
No.
It's clearly taking you some
Do
time to
things.
think about it, so you don't. If you
My
had
New Year's
one,
resolution is just do more
Do
things.
the same things I have been doing, just more
do-
effectively.
Do things better and healthier.
Actually, my real honest New Year's resolution is to give less of a shit about what people think about what I'm doing.
you know what? That's a pretty good resolution, actually, because a lot of people are very self-conscious about what others think of them, and in reality, you shouldn't care about what other people think of you, because you are yourself.
Unless it's me. You
What?
should care about how I think of you.
Okay, I will. Before we really kick things off, though, apologies for the feedback from the last episode. We did not really catch that.
Yeah, we normally do tests before it. We ran that, and the feedback didn't start until sometime into the podcast. So there was some mechanical issue on our part. So yeah.
We corrected that, upgraded some equipment with some of our sponsorship dollars that we don't have,
Some
and
spicy work money.
Yeah.
but we should be good from here on out.
We should have spent the stimulus on that. Anyways, welcome to season 2.
Yeah.
So, this season we're going to be focusing on how to be prepared for the events that may unfold around you.
Because if you really haven't noticed, or at least you lived under a rock the past year,
Like me.
you've seen that there's been a lot of stuff going on recently in cities with protests and riots and just general unrest, general unhappiness with at least how things have been going, whether you're on the left side or the right side.
Get massive civil unrest like we've never seen before.
Yeah.
I think it tops that we even like the civil rights movement and stuff like that. I think we're beyond that.
Yeah, and we're all relatively young, and I've even asked older people that have been around in those times just to like get some perspective and think like, is this as bad as I am looking at it right now, or has this happened before, or like, and how was it dealt with prior, and how did like regular people see it back then? And at least from the people that I've talked to, they've all said that this is a bit over the top.
Yeah, I've also done the same thing, and I take into effect that that everything that happens currently, like what you focus on, or like what's happening right now, is always going to have more of an impact on your mind than what's already passed, just because of the way that the human mind works. But I've talked to a lot of people about it, and we're several orders of magnitude over what things were. So, we have all this major civil unrest going on, and it's not just one place. Everybody thinks you have Portland, which has been a constant war zone essentially for the last 3 months.
Yeah, more than that.
More than that, yeah. And we're recording this the day after the DC.
January 6th.
Yeah, we're recording this on January 7th, so this is the day after all of the stuff went down in DC. So you don't have them just in two major locations. You have even small towns where people come out and start rioting and stuff like that. So for this, don't think that this is a problem or the quote unquote "it doesn't affect me" crowd. This is a wake up call.
It really is. This can happen anywhere, and we as a group for our podcast, we're thinking, we had a couple directions where we wanted to take season 2, and we decided that, given what January 6th was supposed to be, we're just like, let's sit on it and let's wait and see what happens. And then when we saw what happens, we're just like, this is the direction we need to go for season 2, because informing our audience is ultimately the most important for being prepared for anything.
And it's mostly because a lot of the stuff, and watching the news or wherever you get your information, it can be overwhelming. And there may be a ton of people out there that want to do something, but they don't know what they can do, and they don't know how they can make a difference in their, maybe their community, their family, their whatever, like, social group you want to talk about. But
or they don't think that they can make a difference.
Or they don't think they have enough influence to make it.
I'm just one person. What difference is it going to make? That mentality. And, we're here to say that that's not the case. It doesn't take a lot of effort from one person's part to make a difference. Especially, if one person becomes 2, becomes 5, becomes 10.
Right. We as the 3 of us kind of talked about it already. But we are only 3 people, and we all have our own personal networks, which we can inform. And if we get enough people that are passionate about this, then we can grow 3 people into 20 people, and then 20 people that are passionate about it can grow it and do 50 or 60, and then so on.
Well, it's the exponential growth figure. If you're one person and you talk to somebody, that's 2. And now if each of you talk to somebody, that's 4. Now if each of you talk to somebody, it's 8, 16, 32. It keeps growing at a crazy rate. And it's just trying to raise awareness, and I mean, it's going to sound corny, but kind of be a light in the darkness, because we're going through some really tough times right now. The stuff that and we've talked pre-show, and even like just even before, like this is like, especially yesterday, it's like, we never thought anything like this is going to happen. It's like you sit there and you think about, like, oh, well, this is going to happen, or you got the guys that are like all the Boogaloo guys and stuff like that, and they'll get hyped about it. But the moment that everything actually goes down, you're like, oh my goodness, that, like, it's totally different. I don't know if you guys had that realization that I had.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I literally looked at it, like I was sitting there watching the live stream, and I went, holy shit, like this is
happening.
This is happening. Yeah. This is our country. Like seeing people bust into the most secure building in the world.
Oh, supposedly.
Supposedly, right.
Yeah, but regardless, whatever side of the imagination you want, there's still people like this, in like, it's dystopian.
Yeah, it is dystopian. And
regardless of who's to blame or this or that and the other, it's dystopian regardless of how you look at it. Because, we already said, like all throughout 2020, we've had social unrest, riots, and all that. And as we, said in season 1, that, a lot of that's fueled by, the entire country, the entire economy being shut down, people being cooped up in their houses, etc. Like they're really on edge about stuff. Mm-hmm. So the moment that something goes down that they don't like, they're easier to set off. So that's been the whole theme for 2020. And on top of that, we have the election. Mm-hmm. And elections are always super
turmoil.
Election years have always been like that. Well, it is now.
Turmoilous.
It is now.
Oh, it's
a word.
Yeah, well, that's why I paused there, because I didn't know what the word to call that, but it's always real pretentious. Would that be a good way to say that? Tense. Yeah, perfect. So it's always tense these years, and then everything else is like, it's like you're waving a match around in a powder keg. What do you mean? Like seriously?
I mean, election years are always just like nobody cares. Election year, everyone's Facebook, everyone's Instagram, everyone's Snapchat is screaming vote, and everyone's voicing their opinions on whatever topics are being debated and whatever. So that's basically the only time in our country that we ever have actual talks about politics. Otherwise, most people just kind of ignore it, and that's why the first season is such a good draw into this, because it gets you a good understanding of where your mind should be, and how our country functions as it is, and how amendments and stuff like that were put into the Constitution, and why the Constitution is an important document.
Yeah, and even like when we went through it, we talked about the literal definitional side of everything, because there's the legal side and then there's the human element side, and we cut that up on each of the podcasts talking about it, because you can have something that's written clear as day on paper and it doesn't quite play out the way that you think it's going to in reality.
Yeah.
It happens a lot, especially in government,
Because they use words to their advantage.
Yeah. Well, not just in a like a nihilistic, whatever, in a bad intentions way. But sometimes, writing something down and the way it works out is accidentally, it's genuinely oh my goodness, that's not how that should have played out, because something wasn't interpreted correctly. That happens all the time, not just government.
Something. Right. Yeah.
Texting is a great example of that. So, that happens all the time. And then, 2020 was a year, and everybody's like, oh yeah, 2021 is going to be great. I think a lot of people are in a different mood. And,
then we just
kick
off the year January 6th.
But we were, even, over the course of the break, we were talking, it's January 6th is going to be interesting. And coming up to it, I was still like, yeah, January 6th is going to be interesting. And then it happens. You have the people certifying the votes, and you got one side that really believes what's going on. They're like, yep, no question. There's no problems or anything. Yep, nothing to see here. You got that side that really truly believes that, and then you got you have the other side that is like, Mike Pence is going to be our Lord and Savior. I mean, that's basically what the two sides of social media were leading right up to that, and then it came down to it, and Pence. Everybody knows how he handled it and set the one side off. Yep. That's what happened, and then there's all the middle ground there. Push comes to shove, and then there's the Capitol protest, storming and breaching, and that's what we've talked about. And again, I'm not jumping into conspiracy theories. I'm not jumping into alternative ideas. I'm just as it sits on its face. Yeah, the Capitol building was breached.
Yeah, it was breached.
No, like I said, I'm not going anywhere from there. So that's it. And then, there's all this back and forth with Trump, and they shut his social medias down and stuff like that. That's and that pisses more people off. That you have the Trump Republicans now. That's the party of Trump. That's what. Realistically, what would you say? 60% of the GOP?
Probably. I mean,
at least
I wouldn't. I personally don't.
You don't identify
I don't identify as a Republican anymore.
I don't either.
I did at one point, but my ideology falls more on closer to federalism and closer to just a constitutionalist.
Yeah, I've always been that way. Of course, constitutionalists talk about our whole one season constitution, right? Yeah. But you always had to pick a party, because otherwise you give up the right to do primaries.
Oh,
that was always the catch.
And I mean,
yes, so that's the same situation. But you have 60% of the party that is looking up to Trump, and they shut him out.
Not the rest of the GOP, who are honestly more of the same. They're just right-wing Democrats. Yeah.
Have you looked up the concept of the uniparty?
I have not.
It's like, do yourself a favor after the show. Look at that. Yeah. It's pretty
a facade. Basically, there's a facade of a difference, but really they have the same goals and intentions.
It's pretty much, yeah. But once they're like that, and you shut all these people out, you end up being like that. These people are
disenfranchised.
They're disenfranchised and fractured is a good word for it, because now there's no point to look at. And even though I don't consider myself in that group, that I look up, it's like, oh wow, what's going on next? It made me really realize it's like, for the most part, we're on our own. And it's not so much that we're just alone, but there's millions.
Nobody's coming to save you. Yeah, save yourself.
Yeah, and there's millions of people that are in our situation. They just don't know how to connect.
Yep.
Which, is our lead into the whole point of this being a wake-up call. It's like, you see all this stuff happening in third world countries. You saw what happened with Gaddafi. You saw what happened with Hussein and stuff. You're like, oh no, that'll never happen here. And then you start looking. It's like, oh man, we were pretty freaking close to it yesterday.
Yeah, and those things. It's not like those are serious past events. Those are within a couple years.
20. I mean, if you go back to Hussein, that's I think almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is still relatively recent.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of history.
Yeah. And it's like you sit there and you don't realize. You're like, oh my goodness, this stuff is actually real. So if you're one of the people that has that boomer mentality of, nah, it never happened here. Don't gotta worry about it. Don't have to get involved.
I just want to work my job and come home and see the kids and wife and drink my beer and all that.
Watch sports.
Sports ball.
Yeah. Man, we just stereotype like half the people in this country, but it's true. It's like there's a lot of people who think that, and we really need to look at this as a huge wake up call. It's like, hey, knock knock knock. The problem's at your front door. People have ignored it for the last 50 years, and it's like you have this festering disease that's built into the country, and it's gotten worse and gotten worse and gotten worse and gotten worse. Nobody's been held accountable for anything, and it's just gotten worse. And we're at the precipice of that now, where everything comes together, and it's like,
I don't think we're at the precipice just yet. I think we are definitely. I mean, 2020 has been indicative of a gradual increase of hostilities and violence and discourse, and January 6th proved no different.
Maybe January 6th, I think, was maybe not precipice of the whole overall scheme, but this was the point where it really
was another
showed.
Event. It was another significant event.
Yeah. But albeit, worse than it has been. But even then, you have like this type of event. You have the Kenosha stuff. You have the stuff with George Floyd. This whole last year has been full of this type of stuff. And you're like, oh well, I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about this. No, you have to worry about it. It's here.
Yeah. At what point are you going to sit down and say, okay, this is now something that I have to worry about, or like at what point? Seriously, I want to know. Like, at what point are you going to feel like there is a serious issue, and that issue could start affecting you on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, think about the people that live in Kenosha.
Or
I've never heard of the city of Kenosha until what happened.
Neither have I. Because why would we ever need to know that?
Yeah. Exactly. And like the same thing with our hometown back whenever that happened, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we never thought it was actually going to happen, but it did.
Yeah, and for the most part, nobody really knows about it for lack of a couple other small things that are unrelated.
Right.
And then as soon as it happens, media, everything. It's like, because they don't think it's going to happen, and then this dystopian, the stuff that is dystopian is now reality. When you
take off the faded glasses, or whatever you want to call it, whatever analogy.
The blinders.
You take off the blinders and you realize, like, there's...
Holy crap, there's National Guard walking down the streets, pushing protesters off in front of our buildings and our businesses. Before that, and you guys know, I've always been aware of this type of stuff. I've always followed it, but that moment there was like the holy shit moment. Like,
that's the whole reason we started any of this.
Yeah, that was the kickoff.
That was the kickoff event for us, because we went to that protest in our town, and we, basically doing an AAR, or after action review of what happened, what went down. I personally thought, like, there is a lot of stuff like that we can do better, because if something had happened, like something bad had happened,
we would have been pretty unorganized.
Yeah, we would have been unorganized, unprepared.
Yep. Absolutely.
Not as good as we could be if we had trained to muscle memory this kind of stuff prior.
Even that, but it was, like I said, the wake-up call thing. Like, I'm sitting there reflecting on this, and like, I didn't have like a plate carrier or anything before that, because I was like, oh, I'll never need something like that, you know? Yep. And then you sit there in the moment that it's like, there's people running down the street, like throwing stuff at the National Guard and the cops and everything like that, and you're like, hey, there might be some actual shooting going out here, like people with their weapons drawn and stuff, like,
especially people that are not trained and are quick to get scared and make rash decisions and stuff like that.
And that was all around us. It's like, that was the moment. It's like, oh my goodness, it's like, we got to start really preparing for stuff like this, and not prepare in a way for like us to fight go out and fight people. It's not it at all. But I mean, at least from my sense, that got me into the whole. We need to be prepared to react to such situations. Not again, like, not trying to instill violence or anything like that. But people can't come to the town and burn our town down.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like a metaphor. You know, everybody's like, "Oh, that's a metaphor." Yay, Patrick, we saved the city, you know? But, I mean, like, that's real. Like, entire, like, what's it worth to, like, $2 billion in damages in Portland alone, I think, right?
No, I mean,
something like that. I mean, that might be
increasing.
nationwide. Don't quote me on that, but it's like, you know, like, billions of dollars, buildings burnt down, people dying.
People losing their jobs, their businesses.
Yeah, I checked last night because I was following the events on this. Like, there's been 13 people killed over the ongoing George Floyd riots. People that have been killed, like people that have been in buildings that have gotten burnt down and they died in the buildings. I think they counted the Kenosha stuff in with that because that's all related. But it's like, you know, that's real, and it all boils down to this is your wake up call. There's no snooze button on this alarm clock. You can't hit snooze, and it puts it off 5 years.
Go for it. Go ahead and hit snooze. Keep hitting snooze because.
You'll be
eventually, whenever it's time to go to work, you won't be ready. You won't be showered. You won't be shaved. You haven't taken your morning shit. Yeah, you've done nothing. You're still in your PJs, and there are dudes.
It was on the day of your performance review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just not a good time. So, basically, that was a incredibly long-winded
wake up call,
and we would like to, I guess, give some insight and a way out or a way to start preparing for this kind of unrest, to protect yourself, protect your friends, protect your family, and to protect your stuff.
Yeah, and to get into a situation like we're in now, because, you know, we can move to wherever we need to move and be reactive to anything that can happen and help anybody that we need to help, whether that's, you know, helping people move out of an area that could be possibly dangerous, or providing medical assistance to people, or just general information moval and stuff like that, or if the absolute worst comes to worst, true defense.
Yeah. Because
again, we definitely 100% are not advocating for any type of violence. Quite the opposite.
Offensive violence.
Right.
Yeah, definitely even like explicitly no offensive violence at all. Not even like throwing a water bottle.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. We're saying, you know, here's the way to properly react and be prepared how to handle a situation so that you, your friends, your family can see the next day.
And the point is to preserve, like, as someone that prepares or someone that is ready, you are preparing so then you can play a part in ensuring that the loss of human life is mitigated to as close to zero as possible.
Yeah, that's the whole concept.
That's the idea.
And to, I think, start with preparation, that starts with your social network.
Yeah, that's definitely, I'd say, is the biggest key thing, even over your gear and stuff like that. Your social network is by far the most important part of this all.
We lightly already talked about that. I mean, we are only one person as an individual, but you are stronger as a group. So having more people informed and supporting you will help you go a long way.
And
because that's not just, you know, literal, like, oh yeah, you're not alone, you can hang out with people. You know, that is more information, that's more eyes on the ground, that's more the physical ability in one place, that, you know, you could coordinate it together and make sure that you all get out.
Yeah, and especially, like, if you somehow get into a situation, I think we talked about this in the Second Amendment podcast, but if you put yourself, or you get into a situation where your life is in danger, and you need to get out, or whatever, and similar to the Kenosha thing, like, he should not have been alone.
No.
A lot of that could have been mitigated if he hadn't run off alone. And being alone in, like, that, like, big situation there, or being alone in your ideology, in the end it's not going to bode well for you.
You're not going to get very far with it.
Because especially if you're alone in your ideology, which, you know, in our sense, our ideology is, you know, we really, really care about our country. We love our country.
Yeah.
And, we don't want to see it turn into a third world country.
And we appreciate the founding of it. And we look at the perspective of the founding.
And the idea.
And the idea that they brought the country up in the first place. Not necessarily how it is run since then, but more so, like, basically there's the goal. We should always be constantly striving to reach that goal, even if we fall short, and we have fallen short. But that goal is still, that doesn't make the goal any less
valuable.
Valuable.
But what I was saying is, like, if you're, I mean, that's just us in particular, but anybody, whatever your idea is, your goal, if you're alone in that, then you could lose
put
sight of
yourself
that.
at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Or a much bigger disadvantage, because you're going up against crowds of people, or whatever it is,
or the difficulty could really just, I mean, whatever it is, and this isn't just this is literally anything, the difficulty could really shy you away from wanting to achieve that. It's like, oh, this is too hard, this is too much, I can't do it.
I was thinking, like, just thinking about it like setting up a campsite. Like, if you personally, you have to set up the tent, gather the sticks for fire, start the fire, gather water, all that. If you had to do all of that by yourself, it would take you a monumentous amount of time, and you may not finish it all, and that would mean that you are lacking in one of those areas. Whereas if you have 3 people to do all of those tasks,
you get it done 3 times faster.
You get it done 3 times faster. You're more efficient, and people can focus more on whatever they're doing.
More hands make less work.
Yeah, absolutely, that's true. But that's all 100% true, and I agree with that. And that's a huge part of the actual team dynamic, is like the specialization and delegation of work,
right? For
sure, especially like in any team-based thing, like in this sense, like protecting areas and stuff. That is monumental. It's critical.
One set of eyes can't watch 3 doors.
Of course not. And you have your inner circle of people that you really trust in your direct team. And then you have another circle outside of that could be relaying information to you. So it's, again, the same thing. You have a lot of people that are all related. But I was looking more and speaking more to like an ideological standpoint, where if you have 3 people that all agree on the same idea, that really believe this thing, if one of them is, is depressed about it, or it's like, oh man, I don't know about this anymore, then the other 2 can support them.
Yeah.
Whereas if that person was on their own, then they don't have that.
Yeah. It's support. That's important, and even like mental health stuff is having a support channel for whatever you're going through. And they talk. Honestly, I've used a lot of the training that I got in the Army for resiliency, and just talking to my friends, and like being retrospective on how I'm thinking about a certain thing at a certain time. Like, you have to stay resilient. You can't catastrophize, or you have to like catch yourself in those instances where you're just like freaking out and like, oh, the world is ending and I can't do anything and blah 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 and all of that. You got to take a step back, detach, and
reassess the situation.
Look at it as if you were one of your friends, or ask for your friends for support, like that kind of type of thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. And speaking of support channels, we actually have a Discord.
Oh yeah. The plug. I've made it very easy for everybody. It is discord.wevaliantfew.com. Takes you right to it. We also have wevaliantfew.com now. Woo.
We have our website.
Our website. Check it out. Links to all of our shiz on there.
That's shameless plug snipe out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is all part of the social network. Everything else comes second to that, because you could be Mr. Literal Juggernaut that walks out and you're like, I could stop a tank round, and if you have no social network, you're just
one dude.
You're just a monument walking around.
You're just a walking monument.
Yeah, but you could have literally no armor at all, not even own a firearm, and you could be the most petite, scrawniest person that can't lift a backpack. And hopefully no one's that weak. But the point is, like, if you have a social structure there in place and you have friends that can support you, you can still make it to see tomorrow.
And you can still do stuff that they can't do.
Absolutely.
Or stuff like
even if it's simple as like you picking up a phone and relaying information. That's literally like that's
incredibly valuable. Yeah.
Or like you standing and keeping an eye on something. Like, so there's a place for everybody, and the whole team dynamic is absolutely the most critical.
Well, let's also talk about what you can do as an individual. And I kind of want to tie this into, we'll start with like kind of my own definition. I've come up with like a level of preparedness, and I'll start with, we'll probably go into this more, but I'll start with what I would call level 1 prepared, which is carrying a firearm on you at all times, whether that be, well, mostly I'm talking about concealed carry firearm, something that you can wear on your body at all times. So then you have in the odd and very scarce situation where you have to use it, you are prepared to do something. You are not just a victim.
Even simpler than that, a concealed weapon of some sort.
Yeah.
It doesn't have. I mean, there's a lot of people I know that it could be a state law, it could be a country law, or anything that does not allow them or does not permit them to carry a concealed firearm.
Okay.
Carry a pocket knife.
Yeah.
Something that you can use to defend yourself.
Yes.
But in our particular choice of that is a concealed firearm.
Yeah, that would be level 1, and having a firearm, and also on top of that is having the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So something that was talked about a lot, or at least in the Army, and by a lot of like concealed carry guys on YouTube and stuff like that, is the right mindset, or
call it level 0.
Yeah,
right mindset.
Level 0, and just being aware at all times. Like don't space out. Don't like, I guess, be oblivious to your surroundings. Always, even if it's just a little bit, always be like paying attention to the people around you. What's going on? Is there like the same thing as if you would look both ways before you cross the street? Like, don't be oblivious to whatever's going on. Pay attention. See what people are doing. See what is there anything like weird or out of the ordinary going on around you that could escalate into something that is unfavorable for the people around.
Yeah, I do that all the time inherently.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm in a building or something like that, it's just something I do. I've always done that.
And
I'm a natural people watcher, so I'm always checking my surroundings, like seeing what people are up to.
Something I do all the time is like with this, I would look around if I'm just walking down the street or something like that. I was like, what could I use for cover right now? If something were to go down, could I use it for cover? If someone like whatever it is, but just be aware. Be aware. That's I guess the best way that I could put that.
One thing I do whenever I'm driving is I will repeat street signs in my head a couple times as I pass them, because if anything's going to happen, I can make a phone call to 911 and say, at XYZ street.
Yeah, I do all the time. So that's your level 0. Your mental mindset. Even if you don't have, well, actually, you should just always be at least that level.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you don't
aware.
have to have a weapon, because like if you don't have a weapon or you don't have a way to defend yourself, and you come into those situations, like now you're using that awareness to get you out of that situation safely.
Where you could increase your level.
Where you could increase your level.
Yeah, so that should be everybody all the time, regardless. Now getting back into level 1. So
level 1 is
a type of basic
carry a weapon. That gives you some kind of advantage over the people that over whatever situation. Like if you carry a weapon, you're most likely preparing for the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario being people's lives are on the line, based on whatever, like the most general term, people's lives are on the line.
You'd be ready to react at a moment's notice, though.
And not only that, but so the whole quote, "Save yourself, nobody's coming." A lot of the times, at least in small, like local, rural areas, police aren't as quick to react. So if like there's a shooting or something at your local mall, I would go out to say that if you have the ability to, like, you have concealed carry while everyone else is running away from the thing, and given, do not do this unless you are trained, and we'll get into training, and but I would go so far as to say is, if you are a concealed carry person or you're carrying a weapon of some sort, you have an obligation, and the responsibility. You have a heightened responsibility to protect yourself and the people around you.
To protect those that are not as
protect
well
those
off as you,
protect those that cannot protect themselves.
Yep.
So in those scenarios, I would say if the police can't come or someone can't come or they're not going to be there, and you can immediately react and immediately reconcile the situation, do it. Because there are
you could save one life or hundreds.
Saving one life is the equivalent of saving 1 billion lives.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, that's the same thing as like, it's the whole concept of how many shootings are stopped just by brandishing a weapon.
Yeah.
Like a good guy with that, what's the only thing that could stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Yep.
That's the saying, right? So it's like
it is now. If it's not,
if it isn't, that's a good one. But that's the level 1. What's level 2?
Level 2.
How many levels are there?
There's
many as you want.
I mean, we can add like level 5 in there. You get like your tank and your APC and all that jazz, but that's a little more expensive.
6 is full on nuclear war.
I was gonna say AC-130.
I want one
That's
of those.
a bit excessive.
Is that the budget?
No, it is not.
At sponsors, do you wanna?
No.
But seriously, so level 2. What would you say level 2 is? Is having your preparedness like stuff with you, whether that's a rifle, a carrier system, a bag.
Gives you more of an advantage for whatever. So in history's past, people have had arms for offense and armor for defense. If I were to quote a great man named Lucas Bodkin.
Oh, that guy.
In his AC-1 video or his slick plate carrier video, I would say level 2 is having the means, having a rifle, or at this point we're dealing with firearms, whether it be a rifle, a pistol caliber carbine, or maybe if it's just a pistol, and some armor, something that'll defeat the potential threat, or I guess help mitigate some of the threat that you will deal with if you have to intervene in a situation like that.
Yeah.
There's also other gear that we can talk about, but I would say that generally having a rifle and armor would be level 2. And then if we can get to level 3 of having like security plans and having extra gear, just basically extra stuff that gives you more capability over a longer period of time.
I would say like a 3-day bag would probably be somewhere in the level 3. Only your firearms.
I'd say just for the simplicity of our sales, cap it at level 3. We can always expand on this, but I'd say level.
Fine.
So level 0 is the mindset. 1's the basic tools. 2 is the moderate tools, and 3 is like your highly equipped max level where, like you said, you have a whole entire security plan. You can
basically handle situations longer. Like your level 2 is you could handle a situation for a shorter period of time, and level 3 is now you can handle that same situation for a much longer period of time through different circumstances or different anything from terrain to time of day to any of those things,
to team movements, anything like that you're highly equipped for the particular situation.
Yeah. So that's the basics of preparing, and
we're gonna make a graphic for this.
Yeah, we're gonna make a graphic, and I mean this. Basically, I came up with this off the top of my head. I also this is completely like there may be flaws in this. I'm by no means an expert, but this is just kind of how I've compartmentalized it and taken a look at it to make it a bit easier for people to understand, especially people that have no background in it, because I've had a bit of military training, so I know like what tools you use generally in a combat situation. But not most people don't deal with those, or most people don't get the training that a soldier does, so it's kind of that idea.
So that's ours specifically tuned to this type of stuff. Do you want to compare it to like the generic 5 color system that applies to anything?
There was another thing that we saw, which was this document. I don't know exactly where it came from.
I forget the source on it.
But
yeah.
it goes into more so mindset prepared, but at different levels, utilizing different colors. So white would be unaware and
totally oblivious to
You
what's
walk
going on.
around cluelessly every single day of your life, acting like nothing is happening at all times.
you're always your face is in your phone, and it's not like you're facing in your phone because you're using it to I guess look natural or look normal like everyone else, but you're indulged in whatever it is while you walk around.
You're that person at the party who's alone, who's staring into their phone to pretend like you have something on your phone, but really there's nothing there. You're just looking at the apps because you have no friends.
You're the person that gets 27
No,
flies off.
it's definitely you're looking at apps. You're scrolling through social media, and you're not paying it. Your blinders are on to everything else going around you except for that.
like what happened at a recent event where
Yeah, whenever you say like, hey, like if someone's asked you a question and you have to say, wait, what? I was in my phone. That's you.
that's a problem.
That is white.
You're the white zone,
Yes.
unaware, oblivious, maybe dangerous.
I mean, dangerous to yourself.
That's what I mean.
Depending upon what you're doing, I would say.
Depending.
Dangerously detached.
It's too detached, and also I think it comes down not only just in preparing, but in general life. Like if you're stuck in your phone all the time, or you're just not paying attention,
These are 100% not just for reacting to a problem situation. These are anything.
Yeah.
This is if you are walking to your car, you can apply this scale.
Yes,
Because you straight up can.
Head is in your phone. You're starting to cross a street, not because it's a not so busy street, but there's a car coming.
Suddenly there's a bus. You're done.
Yeah, you're toast.
You're just
messed up.
You're just done, buddy. You're just gone.
Done messed up, Ron.
But
Salsa.
so think of that when we're going. You've become salsa. Yeah. Think about that going forward here. So white's unaware, oblivious, totally unprepared for anything, no situational awareness.
Right.
Yeah. Head stuck, or you are indulging in screen time.
Instructions unclear.
Yeah. So
phone glued to hand.
So the second color for these prep levels is yellow, which is being prepared and alert, which I would say is relatable to level 0 for your scale.
Yes,
You're constantly aware of your surroundings, maybe people watching, see if there's anything suspicious.
It doesn't mean it also doesn't mean that your face can't be in your phone, because you can also be alert, but also be discreet that you're alert. Because if you're always looking around, like staring into people's eyes, like, what are you doing? And people are gonna think you're sketchy, and then they're gonna get a bit more up. So you have to be natural.
You have to do with tact.
Yeah,
you know?
tact is a good word.
Right. Yeah. You're just casually aware.
Yeah. So that's
paying attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, that's again like you're just walking across the street.
Yeah,
example.
exactly.
So like you look both ways. You're aware there's a corner right here. Car may come out there. Something like that. Super simple.
Yep.
Or a crowd of people. You pay attention if there's people that are acting weird. Again, you can think it applies to whatever situation you want. So that's prepared, alert. The third level is orange. Orange is there's a clear threat that's identified. Now, threat being a generic term, that's like if there's a problem situation, like say again, crowd of people, there's somebody that has a gun. That's a clear.
Or maybe it's something simple as there's a verbal altercation going on.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do that. That's a bit better example. It's not as extreme. So there's a verbal altercation going on between two people. There's a clear, identified threat, and you're aware of that. You know,
and you're constantly wargaming in your head about, okay, so if this verbal argument becomes physical, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. Am I going to do nothing? Am I going to maybe step in and prevent someone from getting hurt?
What action are you going to take? Because action is a generic term here where, like, I'm going to step in and push him apart, or I'm not going to do anything at all, because not doing something is literally taking an action. Yeah, it's a type of action. It's deciding not to do it.
Most of the time, it's not a great action.
It's not a great. I'm not saying it's a great action or not, but it's literally
you make a decision to do nothing. In this scenario where you are in the orange level, you see this going on, and you decide that this is none of my business. I will do nothing.
Yeah, like if you're 100 pounds soaking wet and you look and there's these two bodybuilders having a fist fight in the mall, I probably wouldn't go over and
yes, I would probably leave the area.
That's probably a really bad idea. So of course, assess the situation.
Yeah.
And then, but like how there's a clear issue, and you're ready to take action on that issue, which pushes you into level 4, which is red. That is, you have the issue, you are taking action. Whether that's, again, two people fighting and you're pushing them apart, or like, we'll go back to the road example, there's a car driving down the road, you're clearly identified that car as an issue. If it's far enough away, you can continue walking, or it's like, oh, that car's right towards me. The action is to stop and not get hit by the car.
Yeah, and
any situation.
It's kind of like you're thinking, going from orange to red, you're making, you're kind of looking 5 minutes into the future. And you're saying, what am I going to do in the next 5 minutes if something goes down? And then if something goes down in those 5 minutes that you have already pre-planned in your head,
how are you going to take action?
You get to red, and so now you already have a plan made up, ready to go. Even if it's a quick on-the-fly plan, you are more organized than you were before.
Right, and maybe it might not be the best plan, but that's half the
any
battle.
Plan is better than
exactly.
having
any
a course
plan,
of action.
Yeah, having some sort of course of action is better than not having one at all.
Yeah.
And then you're just scatterbrained, and then when you're in the moment trying to do a task or something, then you have all your thoughts hitting you at once instead of just this one that you're solely focused on.
Your statics, the statics going.
Right.
Shooter Rugi, or Weapon Snatcher on YouTube, he's the guy that disarmed the man that pulled the weapons out of the police officer, or the police vehicle, the burning police vehicle in Seattle.
Yep.
He talks about this a lot, and the mindset, and like constantly wargaming, and constantly just paying attention. And this kind of whole prep scale, he explains it differently, and honestly most likely better, because he's been through situations like this and he has a lot more training than us. But he has a YouTube video about his entire thought process he went through on that day. YouTube channel Shooter Rudy, please check it out. It is definitely... Or it's Weapon Snatcher.
I'm sorry. Weapon Snatcher. Look it up. It's definitely a great watch.
But he talks about the mindset, and that's what the whole red thing is you've identified the threat, you've made a plan, and you're taking an action.
Yeah, the difference between the red and the orange, because like you can have the threat identified and you can have the plan made up in the orange phase. The discerning thing between orange and red is you are actively taking action.
Yeah,
that's the line. And then there is another level here. There's a 5th level, which is black, which is just a total breakdown of like, I don't know, it could be a breakdown of like your plan failing, or it could be like a cognitive breakdown where, like, say it's the bus example and you're afraid of buses. You just curl up in a ball and that's it.
I don't think it's necessarily like where your plan fails. I think black is more of a situation where you go from white to black very quickly. You go from being unaware to now something is we have hit a red scenario and you have done none of the pre-planning.
Yeah,
because you are completely unaware.
The graph I'm looking at the moment literally defines black as panic, breakdown of physical and mental performance. So like you said, so that would be literally like somebody who's completely oblivious walking down the street on their iPhone, FaceTiming or TikToking, and all of a sudden this car smashes into the building behind them. There's a huge riot that they didn't.
Everyone get out of the car and they start rioting.
Yeah, no, like the car hits the building and then they turn around because they notice this car hit the building, and there's suddenly there's a riot that they hadn't seen because they were so oblivious. Like you said, going right from white, firing right through to black.
I mean, you can go from the other areas to black by losing your cool and not going through these steps in your head. Like, so say your plan fails. If you, after that plan fails, you just like break down and you're freaking out and you can't do anything, that's whenever you hit black. But if your red plan fails, you jump back to orange and you're getting to a safe area or something, and then you're planning again, and then you continue going back and forth, I think.
In the words of Monty Python, run away! Run away!
Running away is a plan.
Yeah, but
Time and place for everything.
Yeah, well, that's a published prep levels that that we can reflect based on our what's effectively 4 level or 0, 1, 2, and 3, comparing it to the white, yellow, orange, red, and black.
Yeah.
Where, and there's, we'll go off Shidorugi's video. It's like that. There are tons of different things like this, and you don't really even need a scale like this to just inherently think of oh, well, that's just how your thought process goes. Well, I'm unaware, I'm totally oblivious, unaware, which I honestly don't know what that's like.
I am never like
I don't think I've ever been that oblivious, unaware.
Whenever I can,
that's scary.
There's been times where I catch myself in it, like just being, I guess, just not aware at all, and I'll be like, I can't believe I just spent the last 5 seconds just living in whatever world that I've just freaking created.
I zone out every once in a while. Everybody does.
That's more so. That's more so what I'm talking about.
I think that's a tiny exception, but there's people that literally are like that all the time.
Yeah,
I'd say like real.
I've met drones,
NPCs. I would honestly I would jump to say that I would say between 50 and 70% of the countries like that. That are just totally.
I've seen like some pretty extreme examples. I wouldn't say that.
I'd say
a lot.
I'd say 50, maybe
a larger percentage.
I would say just think about that. Just think about how their daily lives go. Think about the people we know that we try to encourage to get involved in this.
And they don't.
Somebody whose name starts with this letter, I'm signing. I'm being serious. Because I consider that white.
Yeah,
I consider the situation white.
Very much.
And think of how many other people fit that. That's the 50 to 70%. I really believe that number. Just based on what I see, it could be totally wrong. But I couldn't imagine that we're I don't have a plan right now. Right now, of course we do. If something were to happen right now, we know exactly what we we know exactly what we would do. But there's people that if a true, honest to goodness civil war broke out right now, that they have no idea what they would do. It's like, well, I guess I'll sit in my living room.
It wouldn't happen here. No, not in America. No.
I guess I'll sit in my living room and suck my thumb because that's all I can do. No, but I'm serious. There's people like that.
Yeah.
Metaphorically and probably literally. We know exactly what we're gonna do. So if you can push yourself up into one of those higher brackets, at least yellow. I'm personally always between yellow and orange. I bounce back and forth between them.
Well, yeah, because you're paying attention. You see something, and you're like, "Oh, that's a little strange." And then, maybe it was just a happenstance thing. So you
go back to yellow.
Yeah, you very quickly quickly bounce from orange to yellow, or from yellow to orange to yellow again. Or you're just kind of paying, and you don't have to think about it that hard. It's literally
I don't sit there and be like, oh, I'm in orange right now.
Yeah, it just happens naturally.
It just happens.
You can train yourself to do this, and it's honestly really simple. It's as simple as people watching.
Like I said, I literally think it just boils down to situational awareness is a whole huge umbrella to put this underneath.
Yep.
You said, people watching, I consider that situational awareness. You sit there again. You're sitting there, one guy comes, say there's one guy that comes in, and you can tell when someone's out of place.
Yes.
You can tell when someone's really out of place.
And and whatever situation you're in, whether it be a rave or whether it be you're in Walmart or whatever it is, you can see
the body language, how they're dressed, how they're acting. It's pretty obvious once you really sit down and know what to look for.
Yep.
And that's just, I'm not saying go to them and be like that, but you have to just. You keep in your mind, it's there's this guy's acting a bit weird. I'm just gonna keep my eye on it.
I'm going to be prepared. I'm gonna come up with a quick plan here, just so then I can.
If something happens, you know what to do. Because it could just be that person is a weirdo.
Yeah.
And there's no threat. In most cases, that's the thing. It's that the person is totally harmless, and they're just a weirdo, or more so, they may have something wrong with them, and again, it gives off a false flag. I'm not saying to do anything about that, but just be aware of it. And like I said, I couldn't imagine not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would be like. Because, it gets in... I think the real problem with it is you really have to be careful because you can catastrophize really fast with that. Yeah. You start thinking, oh, what if this does this? What if this does this? What if this does this? That's how my mind does it.
You have to think tactically.
Yeah.
And tactically, not in the sense of oh yeah, let's get our Gucci plate carriers.
Spec ops.
Spec ops.
Look at my knots.
Not in that, not tactically that, but tactically in the way of like kind of prioritizing and executing, basically.
It could develop into that, though.
I mean, it
It's
could.
just it was just one step at a time. Just if something is happening, what is step one?
Yeah. What if? Yeah.
Accomplish step one. What is step two? Just checklist.
Yeah. You're making it easier. You're basically organizing your thoughts in your brain into a way that you can act on them quickly and efficiently.
You're organizing them. You're just keeping them in a systemic, easy to follow thing where it's like, oh, this is this, this is this, this is this. It's linear. It's easy to follow. You don't have to really sit there and overthink things, because when you're in a situation of duress, it really messes your mind up. Because I'd say it's probably adrenaline is what does that.
Yeah, adrenaline. It gives you tunnel vision. It makes fine motion skills harder. It makes you stronger and whatever, but it's also like, and you kind of like in D&D, if you put a ton of skill into strength and none into dexterity or big brain, then
You hit your sword off the ceiling.
you throw your sword really hard and you hit things, but now your brain's small. Or you can't, your hand is too big, so you can't pick up the keys on the ground. You dropped your keys and you're just, for whatever reason, you dropped your keys for no reason, and now adrenaline is fueling through your body, and you go, you just can't pick up your keys.
You're because it's shaking around.
Because you have to tactically or quickly move a lot of your fingers to pick them up.
No, like you may be sitting there thinking we're joking about this. No, that's straight what happens. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So, or collecting your thoughts into some way that's easy, not only simple to remember, but easy, one track at the moment. Like still keep everything going, but that action plan.
Yeah.
That situational plan of what's going on. That way, if you get in that duress situation, your adrenaline's going, you can still keep going. Because that's the end goal of this, is to, make sure you get out, make sure anybody that is important gets out, and make sure anybody that is
prevent loss of life.
Yeah, prevent loss of life.
That's the whole point.
That sums up. Even if it's the preventing the loss of somebody. I mean, like the bad guy even.
Yeah.
That's the last option.
Yeah.
That's option Z across there. You do want to make sure that you get everybody out that you can,
right,
in the safest possible way. That's the idea.
But I think that's a good spot to end this portion of the podcast. I think that's a good general idea of how to start preparing, or like what things to start to kind of look for whenever you want to start getting into the mindset of being a bit prepared.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Because once you get the mindset of how to be prepared, everything else falls around that. Because that preparedness mindset, especially again if you have your social network, like we talked about, it's the first thing to establish. You can better that social network because you're more prepared for it. That's those two things work together, and then you can talk about gear, you can talk about actual situational awareness and training, and then actual just physical training, which I think are things that we want to talk about more in depth. They each deserve their own episode, of course.
Yeah. And as season 2 progresses, we're going to dive into each one of those topics one at a time, as the general being prepared, what it takes to be prepared. And
I want to recommend, since this is our first episode on the preparing stuff, I want to recommend some places that you can look for to get like a better idea of it initially, so then whenever we talk about it, or at least because we're just regular guys, and how we see it, we can also like bounce ideas off of viewers and ideas from other people. So I wanted to recommend some YouTube channels and some other people that do this basically for a living, that you can get information from. I would recommend people like John Lovell with the Warrior Poet Society. I would recommend people in the Fieldcraft Survival group. I would recommend T-Rex Arms, Weapon Snatcher, and if you guys have any other ones. Grantham talks about it a little bit. He's more weapon reviews.
I mean, that's about those are the ones that we typically watch,
and those are just good places to start, or at least where we started. Or I guess I'll speak for myself. Me personally, I started getting these kind of ideas, or at least putting these ideas into
Practice.
Not practice, but more so like putting a name to it. Because some of the stuff I already did, but just putting like a name to the stuff that I'm doing, and so then I can like actively think it's like, oh, I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'm going to don't quote me on this, but I'm gonna if I remember, I'm gonna put links to all of those channels in the description of not only the podcast, but I'm gonna put those in the description of the YouTube.
We can put them on the side of the YouTube, can't we? Like can't we like link channels?
I can do that. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that too. But for sure in the description of this video, since we're directly talking about these, I think that'll help people. But we'll definitely do that on our channel.
And let me put this out. Yeah, let me put this out there right now. We have no affiliation with these people. We don't know them. The only affiliation that we have with them is the fact that we've watched their videos and we subscribed to their
we appreciate
their ideology and the stuff that they have taught us, and what our basic goal is to just keep teaching that idea and keep getting that idea out there.
Yeah.
So they didn't pay us for any of this. They didn't do anything.
This is not sponsored.
This is not sponsored. This is literally
I wish it was. No.
This is literally just me genuinely saying I appreciate these people for helping me formulate this stuff on my own.
Yeah, so that seems like a pretty good way to end the first episode here. Good season 2 plug. If we can emphasize, please share this with your friends. If you think that we're doing a good job, trying to bring people up to speed with this, just trying to raise awareness of it. Of course, we're going to be doing, as we said, we're going to be doing more episodes specifically on the different types of preparedness. Thinking we're going to try to get into videos. Don't hold me that. We'd like to do that.
Videos on like different training that we do personally, different gear that we use personally, or just gear we may get into reviews. We're not sure yet, but that's a potential.
Yeah, we're thinking do that as a supplement to the actual podcast. We're still doing the podcast every week, but we might do a video like middle of the week or something. Again, don't hold me to it.
We don't know yet.
But that's an idea.
We're figuring it out.
That's a great segue into our Discord again.
Oh yes.
If you have any ideas for that?
We need friends. Nobody talks to us.
I'll leave that to you because you're our Discord guy.
Yeah. So we're trying to build up our Discord a little bit. Please join in. We want to get some more involvement on there. We're trying to get something started with a 5-minute 5-question type deal. Whereas you ask us a question in our comments section or our questions channel, I should say, and we'll talk about it on podcast for 5 minutes. Yeah,
well, if it does anything, we'll and like I said, we'd like it to be to the point where we have that dedicated segment each podcast where pick 5 random questions. And we go through and answer them.
Yeah.
As fast as we can.
And if you ask so many questions that are featured on the podcast, which is basically anything right now, because we don't get a whole lot of questions, you might be entitled to a cool title in the Discord channel, which will make you an elite member in the channel.
Or if we like the questions you asked, we could have you on the podcast.
We 100% have the ability, even right now, we absolutely 100% have the ability to have virtual guests on. That's relatively easy to do.
So if there's something you want to talk about, or if there's just something you want to talk about on the podcast with us, or whatever,
Discord.
We'd love to do that.
Yeah, Discords are the easiest way to get a hold of us. Again, discord.wevaliantfew.com. Very easy to remember. We also have WeValiantFew.com. Discord's linked there. Any of our socials that we do are linked there. We have our YouTube link there. We have our Anchor link there. Everything. So
we have a website too.
That's what I'm saying. The website. Yeah, everything's linked on the website.
It's all there.
We're on all major podcast platforms. So for whatever reason you don't like Spotify and you want to be weird and use Apple Podcasts, you can use that. We're on there.
Or you could just go to Anchor. It's its own podcasting broadcast platform. You can listen to it right on Anchor.
That's right.
Anchor.fm/WeValiantFew. Or just Google We Valiant Few. We got SEO working, so we're on Google. Easy to find.
Google.
We'll have to check and see if we're on Bing too.
Bing.
We'll see. But so looking forward to feedback. Again, please share this. You guys have anything else to add?
Have a great day.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm good.
The only thing else I have to add that I forgot to add earlier was eternal vigilance is the price of freedom.
That's beautiful.
Give you something to think about. It's not the exact quote, but it's close enough.
If you can tell us what that quote is from, we can feature you on the next thing.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I like that
Big
idea.
brain. So I mean it. Yeah. Have a good day.
We'll see you next time.
Yeet.